Hey guys, it's John, ReelBlue Custom Rods. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to do a decorative wrap on this bait net. I'm just getting my stuff situated here. And so we're going to do another decorative wrap on another bait net. And I'm going to pull out hopefully some pretty good colors here. And so the first colors we're going to use, some Pro Wrap Color Fast 404 size A. And then we're going to throw in some 316, again, Pro Wrap Color Fast, with some 552 Color Fast, but that is definitely a little big. And so I want to go with, that's 525. And where is my other? Oh, 525, this color here. I'm just looking for my other size A of that color, but we're going to go with the 525. So there's going to be three of our primary colors, if you will. Not primary colors, it's the wrong term to use. These are going to be three colors that I'm going to use. And then we're going to come in with some 819 Pro Wrap Color Fast, some gray, and then some 862 just Pro Wrap Nylon Black size A, and then some 980 Pro Wrap Metallic Silver. And what I like to do is I like to just go ahead and make an initial wrap, if you will, with the gray. I'm going to go because it's going to be a little transparent, so I'm not going to fill it in a little bit. So I want this, this metallic silver underneath it to kind of pop a little bit. Then I've also got some marks here where you can see these red marks for my spacing. So what I'm trying to figure out is how I want to start this. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a black. I think that is the right place to start. And then I have my mark here. This red mark, that's my top. So I know where I'm at. And then I want to make sure I am hitting my mark here. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm just laying this black down, essentially skipping every other. And now that I'm looking at that, I'm debating what I want to do. Yep, we're going to do that. So we're going to come down on my double-sided tape. And then I want to make sure I'm crossing back at the top. Not a lot of pressure with this spool of thread in my hand. Just making sure I get good crossing points here. Oops. All right. And I'm going to come down and tighten that up. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my blue marker and I'm just going to make a mark on my tape so I know where my blue spot, where my under spot is at. And what I mean by that is that little blue mark right here on the far left side of the screen. Again, red tells me that's the top. Blue tells me that's the bottom. Now I'm going to come back with this black thread and I'm going to cross these other, I want to make sure I'm getting the right angle here. There we go. And I'm just coming across the rest of these red marks. All right, and then we're going to go back down. On our blue side there, crossing all of our marks. Okay, and one more right there. I'll just kind of focus on that there. And then what I'll do is I can use this time and come back and make sure that all those black crossing points, or all these crossing points, are exactly where they need to be and how I want them, right? So I want to make sure I'm doing that, right? So now that I've laid down this pattern, I'm going to come back in here and I am going to cross it right there. So and again, not a lot of pressure, because if I start pulling this thread, that can cause, if I pull this spool too much pressure, that'll cause that thread that first layer of thread that I laid down to move across that silver. That's not what I want to happen. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down on the top again, but I'm going to stay on the same side. So I'm wrapping on the upper portion side of this bait net, or on the upper side of this video, if you will. That's where all of my thread is going to be focused at. All right. So this is 2. All right. Now I'm going to come back down and do the same thing. This time, I'm going to wrap on the same side, but this time I'm going on my blue mark, which is the bottom of this bait net. And again, I'm still wrapping on this upper side of these wraps. So all of this thread that I am going to lay down here is all going to be on this upper half of the handle. All right. And then I'm going to come back down on my bottom side of the handle, but again on that upper portion up here on it. All right. Okie dokie. And then I'm going to go back down again for a third wrap on that upper part of the handle. And this is going to, we're going to give a good, I'm going to come back down, excuse me, on the top part of that. And this is going to give us a good 3D effect here. So I'm going to be doing fade work, if you will. But what I'm doing is I'm just going to start out the border with this as a black. All right, and then we'll go down one last time on our blue side. Again, I will pack all this thread here in a second with the burnishing tool. All right, I'm about to come back down. And then we're going to come down on that blue side. Okay. All right. And this bait net that I'm doing is for a customer, and it's going to be a matching bait net and gaff setup. So you'll see a matching gaff on this one here pretty soon as well. All right, so I'm going to stop with the black thread for right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back with the burnishing tool, and I'm going to pack all of these threads essentially, right? I'm not trying to move a lot of stuff here. I'm just trying to pack these threads. Again, not a lot of pressure with my burnishing tool. Because I'm really not trying to move stuff too far around. I'm just trying to lightly pack these threads together so they sit together. All right, and we'll do that with these other ones. Okay, and then come back. All right, and just take your time when you're packing these threads, and you know it's a little monotonous, a little tedious, if you will. Don't think monotonous was the right word, but it's a little tedious. But it's definitely well worth it, especially in the beginning. Especially in the beginning. All right, and so now what I'm going to do the same thing this way. I'm just taking the time to make sure that these things are set together. And again, this is why, you know, when you start getting into custom wrapping, custom rods, right? That's why people, you know, they tend to cost a bit more. One, because they're just built better. You know, when they're built one at a time, not factory built, mass produced, they're just a better all around rod. And then two, you're putting in a lot of time when you get into these thread wraps. And therefore, sometimes, right, time equals money. So we've got those all packed in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with the 980. I think 980 or 980 something, the numbers ripped off. But this is the metallic silver. And we're going to come back in here with this thread. And we are going to lay down a wrap. And again, not a lot of pressure. I'm just laying down the silver thread. And it may get kind of lost in here just because I have so much silver on here right now. You know, you may be wondering like, oh, that's going to get kind of lost in there. And it is right now, but you'll see what our next step will be. And that will change some things here a little bit. All right, so that's that one time right there. And we're going to cross back down. All righty. Okay, and then we're going to go back down one more time on the bottom. Oops, excuse me, guys. We're going to go back down one more time on the bottom axis now. All right, and come back. There we go. Okay. We got this one strand or one wrap of silver laid down next to that. All right, and we'll just wrap that around, cinch it down, get that to stick to this tape. All right. Okay, so now I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be, and it's either going to be this gray or the blue. And I'm thinking that I want to go with the gray. Just trying to figure this out. Or I'm thinking I might want to go with the blue actually. So, and then of course I'm just looking, I'm seeing where the silver thread is at. I'm just coming in here, tightening that up, packing that thread a little bit. Man, I'm debating if I want to go with the gray or the blue. I think man, decisions. I think I'm going to go with the gray. But I like the blue, but I like the gray, of course, as well. I'm going to go with the gray. That's what we're doing. And I know, the black thread, I did my black and my silver a little different. I'm going to do the gray a little different here as well. Just in the way I'm going to lay this down. So we're going to go three strands of this A22 on what I call my red axis, because that's my top axis. All right. Then we'll cut that thread. And I'll come back down to the butt end, if you will. Again, wrapping up. And I'm just laying the second strand right next to the first one. Again, on my Y axis, or my red axis, if you will. All right. And then we'll come back down here and do that again. On the red. And I'm just laying that right next to it. Right next to those first two threads that we did. All right. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in with my burnishing tool. I'm just going to make sure I'm packing these threads. Oops. Remember, not a lot of pressure. I'm not trying to move all these threads. I'm just slightly, gently applying a little bit of pressure just to pack those threads together. Okay, and then now I'm going to come back down to the bottom end or the butt end again, and this time I'm going to come up on the blue axis, which is the bottom of this bait net. Actually, I did a little bit backwards there. I actually came up on the blue, which is, it doesn't matter because I didn't cross anything. I'm just going in one direction, so it's okay. I actually came up on the bottom before I came up on the top side, so that's all right though. So we're doing the same thing here. I'll lay down these three threads. This is 2. Okay. Pull that tight, and we're going to do one more. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come back. Actually, I'm just going to hold that there. That was on the red. What I'm going to do is pack this thread a little bit. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down on the red axis, and I'm going to come down 3 times. All right. So we're just coming down and making sure I'm close to those other threads. All right. We'll cut that. And we'll come back to the top again. Actually, I'm going to grab a little bit more of this purple tape. All right, and then what we're going to do is come down again on the red. All right. And we're going to do one more on the red. Okay. And then what we're going to do is cut that thread. And then we'll use our burnishing tool. Again, just make sure those threads are packed. All right, sorry I got the arm in the way, guys. Okay, and then we're going to come back to the top and we're going to wrap the blue axis this time. Same thing for 3 wraps. All right, so we're just going to wrap this down 3 times. This is going to help us achieve by going down with all the wraps and then coming back with all the wraps like I'm doing here. This is going to help us achieve that 3D look, if you will. So that's 1. This is 2. All right, and then we'll come down here and get this last one. And again, this one is on the blue axis or the bottom part of this bait net handle. All right. I'm going to pull that tight. And then come back, we're going to find that blue axis, which is right there. And then we are going to pack all of these threads. All right,